on Tuesday. A couple of reminders before we get started this evening. First, make sure that all of our cell phones, pagers, iPads, iPods, all of the electronic nature are turned off so we don't have any interruptions. We ask that you also be aware that we are videotaping this, and it will be available on both the Courier website and the Chamber website starting tomorrow. Our moderator is Dr. Young this evening. He has asked me to remind you that he will screen questions that are personally attacking in nature to try and keep this issue and topic based. Questions can be written down and given to Bethany Pearson here in the front. There are notepads in the back, or if you have any paper on your own, that's fine. There's also pens around, so she will be collecting the questions and bringing them up. Any other questions before we get going? All right, we'll get started this evening.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Just to give you some timing and some guidelines, we will start with 2-minute introductions from all candidates. This will be followed by questions that are prepared, that I have prepared, and then we will move to audience questions. We have changed, if you have a forum agenda, it was decided that audience questions should also get a minute in response time. 30 seconds in response time. So each candidate will have a minute to respond to those as well. And then we'll follow with 2-minute closing statements by all candidates. And then there will be time at the end to meet and discuss any issues you may specifically have with an individual candidate. So we will start now with opening remarks by the candidates. Again, you have 2 minutes. When you hear this bell, you are done. We will try to give you a little bit of warning prior to that, but you'll have about 2 minutes. We'll start at the end with incumbent Dennis Cassini.
First, I'd like to thank the Chamber for sponsoring this forum and putting it on. Most of you know me in this town, but I am not a local as the definition of local is. I was born in Hamtramck, Michigan, and yes, I am 100% Polish. I've lived here since 1973, and been a resident ever since. I have a degree from Northern Michigan University and a degree from Northwood University. I spent 2 years in the U.S. military in the Army, was discharged as a sergeant. Was involved in family auto business for 20-some years, and since then I spent over 19 years with Farm Bureau Insurance, where I retired a little over a year ago. I've been on DDA, I've been on the Planning Commission, I've been on the Camp Daggett Board of Directors for over 12 years, I've been a First Ward Councilman since 2007. Been a member of St. Mary's Parish since 1973, and presently I'm a Eucharistic minister there and serve also on the St. Mary's Education School Fund Endowment Board. I've been married 36 years to my wonderful wife Peggy. We've got 2 wonderful children who graduated from Charlevoix High School, and let me just give a plug to the high school. Both those kids graduated from college and are doing very well. So the high school obviously gave them a good education. I'd just like to say that I look forward to whatever questions you have, and thank you.
Mr. Ball.
Hello, my name is Brian Vollmer. I'm the current Second Ward councilperson. I was born in Charlevoix, but I was raised in the Ellsworth area where I graduated from high school. After which I left the state of Michigan for a while and lived in Scottsdale, Arizona. I returned to Michigan in 1999, and I've resided in Charlevoix since. I'm married to my wife Jennifer for 10, almost coming up on 11 years. We have 2 children, Hudson and Olivia, 7 and 9. I'm I'm employed in Charlevoix. I work in construction for the Way family, Way Builders. I served one term on the Planning Commission, and I'm currently finishing up my second term on City Council. That's it, thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe Pika. I too thank the Chamber for this forum. I'm the third ward councilwoman. I was born and raised in Charlevoix and graduated from Charlevoix High School. I'm married to John for 32 years. We have 4 children, Casey, Chrissy, Ricky, and Mike, who also attended Charlevoix High School, and 4 grandsons, Johnny, Aiden, Charlie, Gord, and 3 granddaughters, Ricky, Arlen, Kristen, and Tim. And the best part of those grandchildren is 5 out of the 7 play hockey, including 1 girl. Before retiring to travel with my husband for his work, I was employed in business administration, management, and accounting. I was elected to City Council, 3rd Ward in 2007, and now on my 3rd term. I've been appointed deputy mayor by my peers in council every year since 2008. I am retiring president of the Michigan Municipal League 106th District after serving out my term. I am very proud of all my past accomplishments working with my peers on City Council and my constituents. My fervent desire is to maintain the quaintness, beauty, and friendliness of our fair city, which is known as Charlevoix. Thank you.
Dr. Porter.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Porter, a candidate in Charlevoix's 1st Ward. I've lived in Charlevoix for 43 years and have an active dental practice in the Central Business District. Over the years, I've served the city on the City Charter Commission that lasted 3 years, and we drafted our current city charter. I then was elected to the City Council, served 2 terms, 4 years on the City Council, and I served 23 years on the Downtown Development Authority, both as chairman and vice chairman. I also served on the Cool Cities Downtown Blueprint Committee. I have some real concerns about the direction Charlevoix is going. In speaking with the voters in the city, I have heard their wishes and concerns. My agenda addresses their concerns. I will seek to restore confidence again in the City Council by returning to a strong City Council form of government as outlined by our city charter. I will see that we restore public control of our parks. City business must be made transparent, and I will see that these issues are made clear to the public. I will work to attract and retain businesses that will create jobs to replace those lost by the exit of small manufacturers. And I will see that we will address the issues of vacant storefronts, both in and beyond the Central Business District. I have the capability and desire to put our city back on track, and with your help, together we can chart a new path to the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gabe Campbell. I live in the 2nd Ward. I graduated from Howell High School in 1951. Went into the Navy where I was there for 4 years. And then I spent 15 years driving truck, and I was in construction. And then I spent 20 years at the cement plant. I spent 12 years on the credit union board. I was an officer for 19 and a half years at the plant. The last 12 I was president. And we had a very good working relationship with the company. And then I was on the council for 10 years, and I was mayor for 2 years. And I got involved in to the recall because I went around talking to people door to door, and I was overwhelmed by the animosity that is being created by trying to put something that people don't want. So that's how I got involved. I love Charlevoix. I think that the parks belong to everybody. I think it's a mistake when we start using them to put memorials in for people who we don't even know and don't know what the background is. So that's why I got involved. The election is on Tuesday, not Wednesday, like you might have got a card in the mail. Typically, all of our elections are on Tuesday, but I would really appreciate your vote. That's about it. Thank you.
I'm Shirley Wilson. I served on the City Planning Commission for 6 years and the City Council for 6 years. I'm running this time because I disagree with decisions that have been made recently by the present City Council. Our policies have not been followed. Public hearings seem to be a thing of the past. And if elected, I will represent the 3rd Ward and make decisions based on public input, follow the rules, and set new policy based on the best interest of the community with the community's input.
Mr. Howard.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Halverson. I'm a candidate for the 3rd Ward. I've been a resident of the city of Charlevoix for a little over 25 years. Came to the city when I was appointed the police chief about 25 years ago. I've got 2 children and a wife. I have grown to love this community since moving to Charlevoix and being the police chief. I also have been on the Rotary Club's board. I've been past president of the Rotary Club. I've been on the United Way. I've been past president of the United Way. I've been on the Charlevoix Public School Board, and I've been president of the Charlevoix Public School Board. So I have a great deal of experience, I believe, in knowing, how to communicate, how to build relationships, how to reach consensus, how to find that middle ground, but yet be sensitive to all aspects and to hear everybody out before a decision is made. I believe I possess at this time in city government the ability to be open-minded, to listen to the facts, to try to find that middle ground. I'm very an advocate of using the process. I believe the process was here for, in particular, the fireplace, for probably none of us to be sitting here tonight. But that process, for whatever reason, I do not believe was used. But I'm not a single issue candidate. I have a great deal of love for this city. I chose, although maybe not originally 25 years ago, to live here my entire life, but there isn't any place I found with better people and more beauty than the city of Charlevoix. So I'd ask those of you that are in the 3rd Ward for your support in me becoming a person up here that either isn't on city council or hasn't been on city council.
Thank you. This next question, we will start with Mr. Bowler. There's been a lot of discussion of the use of parks during this recall election, including how the park should be used. Should they be used to host events? Should they be used for specific items like the fireplace? Mr. Palmer, should the parks be used? How should they be used? And if not, what impact would that have on the economy of Charlotte?
I feel the parks should be used and utilized in any way we can. They're for everybody and for everybody to use and enjoy. Festivals, you mentioned, they generate people coming to Charlevoix and thusly would possibly stimulate the downtown. It's an attraction to our community. As far as the fireplace goes, I see it again as an attraction. It's something that other communities in the area don't have, and it makes us unique and different. So yes, I do feel it has a place in the park.
I agree with Brian. I feel that the park is there for the people to use however they need to, whether it's an art festival, Venetian, or just sitting in the park, concerts. I feel the fireplace, I wouldn't have voted for it if I didn't feel it wasn't an asset to bring people to the park and bring them downtown for our business people. So, to me, the park belongs to everybody, whether it's our tourists or us. Everybody should have a right to that park. Thank you.
Dr. Porter.
Well, East Park, this has been the focus of, I think, the main problem. And East Park is an award-winning park. When it was completed, it won a Landscape Architectural Award, National Award. I think to add to the park, add things that really detract from the beautiful view of the park, I think is a terrible mistake. And had the city council gone ahead and completed the 20-foot fireplace, we would be looking at that today. And I think the city council made a terrible error. They made a terrible error in judgment by first not having a complete set of plans. Secondly, not consulting the Shade Tree Commission, the Planning Commission, and then not having a public hearing, a real public hearing. We're talking about an advertised public hearing. Thank you.
Well, I was kind of surprised at the last council meeting when the mayor said that it was pretty obvious that nobody wanted the first fireplace. And then we proceeded to, on a 5-1 vote, to go ahead with the design, even though there was no questions answered on the liability or on the safety issues. And I think we're going through the same thing again. We're not having a public hearing. We're not taking time to go out and find out what it is that people want. And that's always dangerous, because when you want open government, the first thing you do is you use the agencies that you have, and you have public hearings. And I think that there are good people who made terrible decisions, and ask them that we correct that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just to reinstate, the question was, should the parks be used for events? Should they be used for festivals, etc.? What impact that might have on the economy if they're not, as well as the fireplace as part of that?
Yes, I think the park should be used for events. They always have been, and I don't have a problem with that at all. I enjoy going downtown to the events. However, I don't think a fireplace is going to bring people to the park or downtown. I think open businesses will bring people downtown.
I was fortunate enough to be on the design committee for the award-winning park, as Dr. Porter mentioned, in East Park. And if you were to follow that process and the partnerships that we created during that design phase that would make it usable for all that wanted to use it, we accessed the Art Care Committee, we accessed the Chamber, we accessed any of those groups that had a presence one time or another throughout the course of the year in that park, to be able to show and to be able to have the product in the end that was useful to those groups. And that was not done in a vacuum. That was not done in a small room of 3 or 4 people. We spent years on that park getting it right. And when I say we, that means the community. And I think it turned out, if you were to tell me when we started those talks that we were going to end up with consensus, I'd have found that hard to believe some of those nights. But eventually, through partnering, through meetings, through vetting, through reviews, through public meetings, we came up with a product that I think everybody enjoys.
Thank you, Mr. Gussie.
I believe that the park should be open for events, open to the public. That park belongs to the people of the city of Charlevoix, and part of the people of the city of Charlevoix are the merchants, And I feel that the events that we have down in those parks generate a lot of business for the merchants. As far as the fireplace, I believe that the fireplace is going to add to the park itself. It's going to bring more people in. I will be the first one to admit, when we first weighing in on the parks, we had 3 meetings, nobody showed up. We voted and passed it. The design that we had out there when it came back, people didn't like it. The council listened. It's been, approximately 6-8 months since we had that first design, and now we've come up with a new design that I believe the architect who designed that original park believes is going to fit in great. I look forward to that new fireplace in that park.
Thank you. This next question will start with Speaker. In regards to the petitions that were filed in the recall petition, the statement used was in violation basically in violation of the Open Meetings Act involving a meeting on August 9th of 2012. Do you believe the statement is accurate? And was there any, to your knowledge, any legal investigation done of that statement?
On that Open Meetings Act, there was no violation. And as far as saying there was, it's inaccurate. By state law, that meeting, wait a minute, I've missed something here. Could you repeat the question?
The petitions that were filed publicly stated that on August 9th, 2012, there was a recall involving you and the other incumbents based on the fireplace and the discussion of the fireplace in violation of the Open Meetings Act. Do you believe that's a truthful statement? And to your knowledge, was there any legal investigation done to that statement?
Thank you. I was on the right track. I'm sorry. There didn't need to be an investigation. The Open Meetings Act, what you're referring to is we had a special meeting. And by state law, a special meeting has to be posted in a conspicuous place in City Hall, which it was posted on the doors, the main doors entering, and it had to be posted within 18 hours, and it was posted in 48. There was nothing wrong with that Open Meetings Act. It was perfectly fine.
Thank you, Dr. Porter.
Well, I believe that this issue of whatever appears on the petition, I believe this is going to be resolved by the voters on May 7th. Thank you.
Well, first of all, there was a joint meeting with the DDA. They didn't have a quorum. On the agenda, it always says that we follow Robert's Rules of Order. I thought that meant that they always follow Robert's Rules, but evidently it doesn't mean that, because if they would take the time to read what it says in Robert's Rules, they would know that they should have stopped. And they didn't have a public hearing, and that's just another form of not listening to the people. But I believe it was a violation. There was attorneys that said that they believed it was, but it cost $10,000, and we didn't have the money, and we didn't want to make the community spend that money either. So I think that's immaterial. The fact is that there is a definite push to put something on the people that they don't want.
Thank you, Mr. King.
And that will be resolved.
Ms. Gibson.
Thank you.
I spoke to a municipal attorney from Traverse City, and an election law specialist from Detroit. The special meeting on August 9th was a violation of the Open Meetings Act because it was a joint meeting with the City Council and the DDA. The DDA did not have a quorum. The meeting could continue, but no decision could be made because there was not a quorum of the DDA, which was one of the parties. However, a decision was made in violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Thank you, Mr. Halverson.
I was not a party of the construction of that recall petition, but did follow it as it made its way through the legal process with regards to the review for if the language was appropriate and met the legal requirements for a recall petition to be initiated, which met all those tests. And no, I'm not aware of any sort of investigation that occurred as a result of that.
Thank you. Mr. Kusina.
Every one of you out there as a voter has the right to criticize me or anybody else who's elected. But you also have the responsibility to get the facts right. And I don't feel that meeting there was a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Our city attorney didn't feel there was a violation. Our city clerk didn't feel there was a violation. According to the new laws, of the way the new recall laws are written, that wouldn't have gone through. But that's water over the dam, and let's move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman.
In my opinion, no, I do not believe that there was a violation of the Open Meeting Act. The DDA, yes, in fact, did not have a quorum present, but ultimately council has the deciding vote. And to the best of my knowledge, no. A legal investigation did not take place.
Thank you. This next round will start with Dr. Porter. In each of your questionnaires that you filled out for the chamber, as well as statements made tonight, you talked about improving Charlevoix for one reason or another. Please give one specific example of what you would champion as a city council member.
Well, I think the biggest the number one thing on my agenda would be to restore confidence in the city council again. I think that we have gone through this almost 9 months of turmoil, and I think what we really need in Charlevoix is what the city charter asks us to do, and that is to have a strong city council. And I think we've become a strong mayor system with a weak city council. And I think we need to go back to the city charter and see that we have a strong city council. Thank you.
Well, I think that we have to give confidence back to the people that they're going to be heard and that we're not going to do things, even if you mean to do well, and you make it look like there's something slippery, it comes out the same in the minds of people. And one example is cutting a tree down at 5:30 in the morning. And now, I don't know if it's an allegation or truth, but I heard that it wasn't even a member of the city that had that done, it was an individual. And there we go again, and we got a shadow government. But I think that we just have to be upfront with the people. Thank you.
Ms. Gibson.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, in your questionnaires that you did with the chamber, as well as some of the statements made tonight, you've given ideas on how to improve Charlevoix. Please give one specific example of what you would champion as a city council.
One thing I would like to see, manufacturing has really sort of left the country. I do hear it's coming back, but slowly. I would like to see something done to maybe target new knowledge-based industries. such as computer science, software development. These businesses will attract younger families, which will not only create jobs, but help our schools.
Thank you, Mr. Halverson.
I think there's a perception, either valid or not, that the business community here in town has never seen such a rough year, and maybe will continue to see it being rough from Giuseppe's to the north, the Hallmark store to the south. There's a huge concern that our retail establishment in some form or another is on the rocks here in town. Whether that's true or not, I think is open for discussion, but that perception is out there, and I don't think it's a healthy perception. I think people who do look at moving into town or looking to establish a business here, you know, they're going to want to look and see it. Does the downtown look like? And I think the second thing they're going to look at is what's the school district look like. I think at this point in time, those two are issues to growing this town and keeping jobs here.
Thank you, Mr. Casino.
I think the major issue that I would be focused on is growth of this city with young families and young people. The median age in the city of Charlotte is 57 years old. And I'm older than that, and I'll be the first to admit it. But we need to get young people back and get more kids in our schools. Do I have a magic wand that's going to tell us how to do it? No. I think it's cooperation between the city, the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Development Authority, Convention and Visitors Bureau, Northern Lakes Economics Alliance. We've all got to work together. We've got to pull on the rope in the same direction to bring new industry and jobs to this area. The one thing I do think that we do need is we need high-tech industry, and the one thing we need is further addition to the high-speed internet lines.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
I agree with Dennis. I think that developing our downtown, especially year-round business, is paramount. I think that we are seen as a seasonal community. Storefronts open up, they're open for the prime season, and then they close their doors in the off season. It would be nice to see something year-round to draw people in, especially those who live here year-round.
Thank you, Ms. Beebe.
I also agree that we have to draw businesses in. We've worked very hard with them. That the ones that we do have in here in the industrial park, Harbor Industries, Woolgen, Window and Door, we have given them tax abatements. This council, I'm also a concerned person about our budget, our general fund, our reserve fund. We have built that reserve fund in the 5+ years I've been in there from 600,000 to over $1 million. And I think that we've worked with the Chamber and the Downtown Authority, trying to get things moving down there. And if you notice, storefronts are starting to fill up again. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move to some questions submitted by our audience. This next question is specifically to First Ward candidates, Mr. Casina and Dr. Porter. Mr. Casina, in a paid advertisement statement you released today, you said, "The person running against me stated at the council meeting on April 15, 2013, that he does not want anything in our parks or festivals, no art shows, no craft shows, no Apple Fest, no Venetian Festival." What is the proof of that statement today? And Dr. Porter, did you make those comments, and is that your belief?
I don't have the council meeting tapes from that night, but if you go back and listen to the tapes, I'm sure you will hear where Dr. Porter stood up and said, "I am for nothing in the parks."
Dr. Porter?
Well, Dennis, I have the tape right here, and I did not say that.
Dr. Porter?
What I spoke to that day, this was on the April 15th meeting, what I spoke to was the City Council taking action on the Michigan Beach Park, allowing a vendor to have a private business of this, they were having an art fair that charging for these booths, and then the city would get half of the revenue and this vendor would get half of the revenue. And this would occur every Sunday down in Michigan Beach. And to me, that's establishing a business in a city park is not what those city parks are intended for. It's just another example of what we're fighting against, talking about saving the parks. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is for all the candidates. We will start with Mr. Campbell. How do you stand on the issue of private individuals being able to pay for erect structures in the parks that are supported by taxpayers without a vote of the taxpayers?
Would you repeat that into the mic, please?
Sure. How do you stand on the issue of private individuals being able to pay for and erect any structure in a public park that is supported by the taxpayers without a vote of the taxpayers?
Well, that's one of the problems I have. I think that you shouldn't go into competition with established businesses. They pay a lot of tax. And I have no problem with they having a festival and they have non-profits. But I think that when you start using public property and put it in competition with the restaurants or whatever thing, that you're way out of line, because it puts an unfair burden onto the businesses. And we already have problems in Charlevoix. You can look around and see all of the closed shops. So we should be doing something to help the businesses, not put competition on them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gibson?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. How do you stand on the issue of private individuals being able to pay for and erect any structure in a public park that is supported by the taxpayers without a vote by the taxpayers?
I think it's absolutely wrong, and it may even be illegal.
Mr. Huff?
I think obviously it's a slippery slope. We're here talking about in a roundabout way the fireplace, which was that exact scenario. I think those donations need to be structured, need to have a process where then they're vetted and looked at. Make sure that the city, after the initial investment by a private citizen, the city isn't burdened with the upkeep and the maintenance and maybe insurance issues by whatever that is. I think the city's taken some steps to kind of firm that up with a recent ordinance that they're looking at on that deals with contributions. But I think it's a slippery slope. I think those parks belong to everybody. What somebody thinks is art, somebody might not share that opinion. So I think the city should be extremely reluctant to allow private donations for any sort of structure in any public park or right of way. All I think should be pretty tightly regulated.
Thank you. Mr. Ducey?
At the last regular city council meeting, we passed a new ordinance as far as donations towards the city. And I believe it's a good ordinance. It's a place to start. I don't believe in the idea that every time somebody comes up with a donation that we should have a public vote. Whether it's myself or whoever's on this council, that's why they're elected. They're the ones who get to vote. If you don't like what they did, then vote them out.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Would you repeat that question one more time? I'm sorry.
How do you stand on the issue of private individuals being able to pay for and erect any structure in a public park that is supported by the taxpayers without a vote of the taxpayers?
Like Dennis said, measures are now being taken regarding any future contributions and how the city will address those issues. I think what we're talking about here now is in regards to the fireplace. That was a private donation in memory of somebody. And a good example of that, and another counterpart to that would be the interactive water fountain, and it being directed and supported through private donations by individuals. I think it's a successful thing. I think in the future it's going to be scrutinized and looked at more closely. But it has been done, and it has been done successfully.
Thank you, Speaker.
I don't see a problem. I know where we're going with this, and it's back to the fireplace. No taxpayer paid for anything yet in that fireplace, or is there any intention that a taxpayer will pay for anything? This council has not raised taxes on any of our constituents since I've been on it. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is specifically for the challengers. Oh, Dr. Porter, I'm sorry. That's my fault. Answering the question. Yes, I was moving on. It's your turn to answer. Do you need me to repeat it again?
No.
Okay.
The answer is no.
Thank you. This next question is for the challengers. If you are elected, how are you going to keep the people you represented better informed? Specifically, what tactics or what actions will you do? We will start with Ms. Gibson on this. This will be for the challenger.
Well, public hearings would be one thing, and like I said at the beginning, they've been far and few between with this present council. That there hasn't been any transparency as far as I can see, and I would make sure that people are informed of everything that's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Halverson.
I'd bring some of those same skills that I developed and relied on and believed in because when I was the police chief. You didn't enforce the laws on people. You enforced the laws with the people, with their support, with their voluntary compliance. Very similar to government. Government should not do things on the people. It should do things and establish those relationships, that consensus, that middle ground that again has served, I believe, this city very well over the years in huge projects such as East Park originally and some of the other things. You look at some of the successful clubs and organizations that we have here in town and how well they do things with their volunteers, with their constituents, not on them. I think that's a short-term, maybe work one time kind of a way to do things, but it is not effective over a long haul, and I would bring that same interest and relationship building with my work that I did when I was the chief of police here.
Dr. Porter.
Well, the city maintains franchise power over charter communications, and what I would do is I would negotiate with them and have a cable access channel, a public cable access channel that would be able to broadcast live city council meetings, live school board meetings, live maybe county commissioner meetings. I also think that the minutes of the meetings of the Charlevoix City Council should be posted in a very timely manner. And I'm talking about 24 hours as opposed to maybe 2 weeks. The other thing I think that could be done is the transcripts or the minutes of the city council meetings could be emailed to individuals that might be interested in city government.
Thank you, Dr. Porter. Mr. Gamble.
Well, first, on the last question, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about private business, not private other things. But on this one, I do believe that we should have published like it required 2 weeks for a public hearing. And then when we get into controversial items, I think that we should take a walk, talk to the people. I don't see there's anything wrong with going around talking. On the fireplace, I asked my other councilman if he would just close his eyes and put a picture of the second ward, punch his finger out, and then go to talk to 10 people, but he didn't want to do that, I guess. But I think we have to listen to the people. You can't just turn your back on them.
Thank you. This next question is for the incumbents. It states that for the current city council members, how much business would the fireplace bring to the city? Was there a feasibility study done as part of this process? I'll start with Mr. Hussein.
As far as I know, there was no feasibility study done on the, how much business it would bring. And I have no idea. I mean, my gut feeling is, I think it'll bring some business in, but it's like anything else, it's just another piece of the complete puzzle. If it helps a bit, then I'm all for it.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
Again, to my knowledge, no feasibility study had been done. It is my firm belief that anything that as an attraction to draw people, especially in the off season, to our downtown could be seen as a benefit. And I know for a fact that if and when it is built, I will utilize it.
Ms. B.
I think Kendall Staley said, I'm sorry, it's Kendall Stanley. I think he had an article in the Petoskey News the other night that quite answered it all. And I was quite impressed with it. He said, you build the fire, they'll come and sit. And I agree with him. I do think it's an asset to this park. I do think it'll be used even in the off season.
Thank you. The next two questions are for all the candidates. They involve downtown business and manufacturing. We'll start with the manufacturing. We've had several questions. This will start with Mr. Alderson. Would you be willing to give away industrial property or tax abatements to promote industrial growth in the city?
I wouldn't probably say a blanket yes or a blanket no. I think any of those tax abatements can be problematic if there isn't policy to address the background of the applicant, some things of that nature. I personally think it's the days of the large manufacturing plant coming in or around Charlevoix, probably the chances of that are minimal. I think our world up here is changing to more probably looking something like a Traverse City does on a smaller scale with the smaller startups, the software companies, maybe the 15, 20 person operations as opposed to the 100 or 200 person operations. We might get lucky and land one of those. I think personally the odds of that are long. Transportation costs and our location for transportation is problematic. But I'd be open for anything at this point, but I just think that some of those tax abatements have worked in some places, have not worked in others.
Thank you. Mr. Casino.
As a general statement, I will say that I am in favor of giving tax abatements, and I'd be in favor of donating land for people that want to build a business here. But as it has to be on an individual basis, each one's got to be looked at. We can see what's happened out in our United States right now with the economic stimulus money that was thrown around by our government and the money that's been lost on startup companies. So I say, look at it individually, but yes, I'm for it.
Mr. Bowman.
Abatements can work. That's been shown. As far as giving away property, I have to agree with Mr. Casino on that one. I think that would be on an individual or case-by-case basis. I don't know if you want to get into the habit of just giving away property, but to to attract some industry, maybe use it as an initial draw and then see how it works in the future.
Thank you. Speak.
We have given quite a few tax abatements in this city, not just with this council, but councils before us. Every one of them have worked out very well. I am all for tax abatement, properly handled, and if it was an industry that looked like we could do very well with them, I would have no problem giving them a piece of property to do so. We need the industry here, and that would be just the cake, the frosting on the cake, to give them a piece of property and go with it, as long as they were a good, reliable company. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Porter?
Well, I think there truly is a place for tax abatement, and I think that that applies to industry. It also could really apply to commercial businesses. As far as giving away the property, again, it would be an individualized. You'd have to analyze each individual case, and based on merit, I think it might be possible you could do that.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
I think tax abatements are good if they bring industry in. On every single one, it would have to be on a case-by-case basis. And then when you do give a tax abatement, that's like a contract. And well aware when we did labor contracts, I always told our people that we want the company to adhere to their side, we have to adhere to our side. And I think that's true with tax abatements. If we give somebody a helping hand, then they should follow through, and we should really spend time making sure that they do. But the climate right now is so bad that I think that if we could get somebody in, we could help them for a year or two. But I don't think we can have a blanket policy of giving away any part of the city property.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Tax abatements. I think they're a revenue leak for the city, and I think we give out too many of them. I believe, actually, let me restate that, I would be for tax abatements for new business to come in. But the city never tracks if they're actually hiring the people they say they're hiring, or if they're making a living wage. Nothing is ever tracked, so the businesses come and ask for a tax abatement. Usually they are given one, and they're businesses that have been here 30, 40 years, and they keep getting 4 or 5 tax abatements. And I think that policy needs to be looked at.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Sure, you started that. We'll move on to the next question, which is along the similar lines. Do you have any thoughts about improving our downtown business area, and what specifically are those? We'll start with Mr. Cassino.
I believe, we still live in a free market economy, and the best thing we can do for our downtown business people is to make the infrastructure, the streets, and everything else as good as we can make it, if not better. As far as, do I see something we could do to bring more people into town? I don't have a good answer for that. I think that's why we have a chamber, and we have the DDA working with other people on that.
Mr. Bowman. Do you have any thoughts about improving our downtown business area, and specifically, what are they?
I don't have a magic answer to improving the area, except for maybe doing what we can as a community to not only trying to attract new business, but more importantly, supporting it, especially in a year-round manner, so that those businesses can thrive. You know, I said it earlier in one of my comments from the chamber letter. It's monies that are spent locally stay locally. I think that's important.
Thank you, Mr. Deacon.
I feel that we are doing the best we can to attract business in downtown Charlevoix. DDA is working hard at it. The Chamber's working. But you also have people that own those buildings, and maybe some of them should do what they do out in Glenn's markets, such as in the shoulder season, lower the rent a little bit to help them get through, or start them out on a couple of months of free rent to get their feet on the ground and work through that. But that's something we can't dictate to somebody that owns a building. And so therefore, we just have to keep pushing ahead. And as I said in the previous question, we do have stores that are opening their storefronts. Thank you.
Dr. Porter.
Well, I guess I don't understand the difference between business in the downtown area and business, for example, up by Garfield or something like that. I think what the city should do in conjunction with other entities like maybe the county or the Economic Development Commission or committee that they have through the Regional Economic Development, is have a business incubator. And we've got lots of empty space around here, and really we can start an incubator and actually grow our own businesses. We can attract entrepreneurs that would be high school graduates, college graduates, and they would be given rents at a very low rate, also given access to internet, and they would all be working in the same building where these ideas all kind of percolate. And so this is sort of like raising a little chick. You start up.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Campbell.
Well, I think it would be difficult, but I would like to see a forum of some kind to see what we could possibly do about the taxes. Ever since they passed Proposal A, when a new business comes in, it really hits them. And I don't know if there is an answer, but I think that we should be diligent in trying to help business, because it's very scary when you start your business and they keep on capping. There's little houses in town that are $5,000, and that's the same with the business. People can't stay in business because of what they're paying, and I know that the tax thing is a very difficult area, but I do think that we should try maybe get some people who are retired from business or taxes or something, and see if there isn't some way that we can.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Ms. Gibbs.
I'm not sure how city council could improve the downtown business area. City council is a legislative body. The chamber's job is to bring business into town. However, I think we can work with the chamber to reevaluate the taxing policies that we have in the downtown business district.
Thank you. Mr. Howard.
You know, so far I've heard it's a chamber issue, it's a DDA issue, it's this issue or that issue. Is anybody aware of a regional strategy to look at downtown? You've all driven through downtown this winter. Did you like the way that looked? Was there any sense of urgency that you saw from anybody? Was that the new reality? I don't know. It may be for this town. But I don't think we've given it an honest look. Have we reached out to the townships? Charlevoix Township in particular, they surround us. They can't not be part of the discussion. It's not just that department's issue or that committee's issue. I would make the statement it's all of our issue. And again, I think, as I stated in my priorities, I think we need to come up with a long-term strategy, decide as a region what our downtown's going to look like or not, and move forward on that.
Thank you. This next question is for everyone. When does the council's responsibility to notify the people end? Was it met? When is it the public's responsibility to attend if they have questions? If it was publicized and they didn't attend, was there not interest from the public? It's a multi-question. Basically, to simplify it, when does the council's responsibility end to notify the public? And when is it really the public's responsibility to follow through from those notifications and be active in a city council issue? Does that simplify it enough? In other words, the city council publicizes multiple times, multiple locations. When does that responsibility for the city council end? When is it up to the citizens, whether they're interested or not, to engage? In your view as a city council. This starts with Ms. Peter.
I feel that the city council has worked with the people. Everything that we do now is all our agendas are posted on the computer. We're very free to get on the computer. We're posted in the paper by law. Our career editor does a fine job of getting the meetings on the front page. I don't know what more the people expect us to do unless they want us to go door to door and knock on their door and say, hey, look, there's a council meeting tonight. Hey, look, there's a special meeting. Buy your paper. Get on your computer. Thank you.
Dr. Cole.
Can you rephrase that question or repeat it or something?
Sure. When does the responsibility of the council to notify the people end? And when is it the public's responsibility to attend and engage on a city council issue or a city issue?
Well, the recent city issue is the fireplace, and I think the fact that 130 angry people show up at a city council meeting indicates that they certainly had no indication that any of this was going on.
Mr. Campbell.
Well, I think on a day-to-day basis, the council has to do the work. But on controversial issues, and issues of giving away a piece of our park, then I think, like Dr. Porter has said, that when there's a whole room full of angry people, maybe you should step back and say, maybe this wasn't a good idea. But beyond that, I think that as members of council, you have a responsibility to get out into the community and ask people what they think. And if you can put it on the agenda, you can put it, post it down at City Hall. But when you have issues that are controversial, you could read what it says in the Michigan Municipal League, and that is that you do it correctly and give a 2-week notice in the paper besides the Petoskey News Review. Other than that, I do think that the people have a responsibility to keep themselves informed also.
Thank you. Ms. Gibson.
Well, I guess we're talking about the fireplace here. This issue moved very quickly with City Council. It was on the agenda once, and it was under miscellaneous business a second time. And then they had a special meeting and moved. in violation, of course, of the Open Meetings Act, and then made a decision. And when those angry people showed up at the city council meetings, they still wanted to go forward with this project. They still want to go forward with this project.
Thank you. Mr. Howard.
Kind of reminds me of a process when I was on the board. I see Barney sitting out there when we were going to split the fifth grade off the elementary building and moved it up to the middle school. You know, there's the letter of the law, and we could have letter of the law that decision when I was on the board and put it in the agenda and the appropriate notices. But I think the board knew that this had the possibility, the potential to really upset some people if we didn't, kind of explain why we wanted to do that. And some of those meetings weren't easy for us on the board. A lot of those meetings weren't easy for us on the board at the time. But I think at the end of the day, we did that, and some people still didn't agree with what we did, but they understood why, and they were given a chance for input. So, I think maybe you can argue that the current council did meet the letter of the law, might have been in the agenda, might not have, the red notice was there, was not there. It's hard to argue, anybody argue, but this really stung some sensibilities up there. I think council, and I think they've admitted it since then, they said they made a mistake.
Mr. Casino?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. When does the responsibility of the city council or the council to inform the public end, and when is it the public's responsibility to engage, and was that met?
I believe the responsibility of the council lies with the city clerk and the other employees of the city. All the notices should be posted. It should go wherever possible. You want to post it in the Petoskey paper, the Charlevoix paper, post it on the internet, post it on City Hall like they always are posted. After that, I feel the responsibility's been filled, and it's up to the people of the city to look and see. Was the responsibility, I think you're asking about the fireplace, was the responsibility met? I feel it was.
Mr. Ball?
Again, I think the city and council take all the measures that are required or deemed necessary to inform the public as far as when meetings are and their agendas via the internet and the paper and posting where required. From that point on, I think in large part it is the public's responsibility. And I'm speaking from even myself prior to being on council. I wasn't aware of what was going on. The only way you can be made aware is by attending those meetings. And early meetings regarding the fireplace weren't attended. A decision was made. But in light of that, people ended up, it's best to say to be proactive and attend the meetings so you know what's going on rather than reactive and having an action to a decision that we made.
Thank you. This last question, before we get to closing statements, we'll start with Dr. Porter. There's been a lot of discussion tonight in regards to informing the public, the fireplace issue, the use of parklands. What other specific issues do you believe the city faces that as a city council member you would be able to address?
Well, I think there are a number of issues that need to be addressed. I think I think there's a big problem with the shade trees in town. I think that these trees were all began planting them in about 1880, and the shade trees on my street were planted in about 1905, and these trees are all coming due, and I think we should really think about a beautification program put forth by the Shade Tree Commission, and really invigorate the Shade Tree Commission and deal with this issue, because I think the beauty of the streets reflects back on the value of the homes in Charlevoix, and I think have Charlevoix look like it's clear cut, I think it's going to be a terrible mistake in the future. One of the real beauties is we're a harbor community.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell?
Well, I think there are several things. I think the planning commission, or the whole code book, it's in the process of being brought up to date. But I think that there's got to be more work done on it. And I do think that in a lot of ways, the city is in good shape as far as trash pickup and the grass pickup. I think that we've got to do more to help the businesses. And I know that the Chamber's working on it, the DDA is working on it, but I think the council is going to have to do more to help the businesses. You can see they're all struggling. I mean, it's kind of a sad thing when you see your store after store closing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gibson?
I believe, I believe the city needs to be an active partner with businesses and other agencies to promote Charlevoix. And I think we need to protect city services. The cost of providing essential services continues to increase. And I know how critical it is, that we manage our financial resources effectively so we can prevent tax increases and maintain efficiency.
I think some long-term plans need to be made. As an example, what the effect is the elimination of personal property tax is going to have on the city's revenue stream. Unless things have changed, and I don't think they have, I think Saba and the golf course continue to be a drain on the city budget. And I would surely hate for those to be in jeopardy ever. My kids golf and ski today because of those two facilities. But again, I think it's an opportunity for a partnership to make sure that those two facilities are here for the future. I'm not so sure the city can do that by themselves. Property values, the bottom has dropped out of a lot of people's property values that they were counting on in their retirement years. I would look at and see if there's anything that can be done to reverse that direction. And the third thing, again, talking about our local economy and trying to make it go north instead of south, I think unfortunately, the public school system right now, have we pursued opportunities to throw them a lifeline? I think a successful Charlevoix and a successful Charlevoix public school is connected at the hip. We can't let them go.
Thank you. Mr. Kusina?
I believe one of the major things that we have coming up that we as a council and as a city have to look at is what we're going to do with the problem that we have with the wastewater treatment plant. For those of you who attended the city council meetings, you know that coming up by 2015, we're going to have a new plant, or that plant's going to have to be completely remodeled because we have a problem right now of getting rid of ammonia in our waste discharge. At 2015, if that isn't gone, the state and federal government could come in and shut us down and say, you're out of business, pull our license. This is something that within the next 8-9 months, we're going to have to make a decision, and we're also going to have to turn the shovel by next spring if we're going to get it built in time to meet the government demands.
Thank you. Mr. Bowler?
Mr. Christina had a good point. I think that is a large issue facing the city coming up is the wastewater treatment plant and meeting those new guidelines that are imposed upon us. Our city services right now, be it electric, water, sewer costs, to citizens in our community are less than those in surrounding communities, be it Petoskey, East Shore, and Harbor Springs. We're still below their average. And maintaining that, upgrading our systems be it infrastructure. We're making steps to provide and continue to upgrade our services. And I think that we're doing well to keep costs down right now. Like Mr. Halverson said, I think that the school and what's happening with that has a direct link with our community, and I think that's something important that we need to look at.
Thank you. Ms. Speaker.
I have to go back with what Dennis and Brian said about our wastewater treatment plant. So we had to do something. It's been let go for 40 years, and we do have to make a decision, or we're going to have some problems in 2015. Some of your people spoke on trees. We have 50-some trees that are coming in with the city. Somebody spoke that they thought, and I think it was Gabe, that they thought that our trash pickup was pretty nice. I find that interesting. That's part of my recall, that the trash pickup on Belvedere isn't cleaned enough. So that's kind of an interesting thing to me. This city council has never requested a tax increase, and we have managed our financial. We have budgeted every single year in the darkest time that these people will ever see. We've been able to manage in the black. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to closing statements. I feel like I was saying it perfect. We'll start with Mr. Campbell. You have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Again, these are open statements to anything you'd like to finish with tonight.
Well, I'm open for your vote on May 7th, which is Tuesday again. I want to make sure everybody knows it's Tuesday, not Wednesday. I'm not upset with everything in the city, and I didn't say that I was. I think that there are problems that need to be addressed. My biggest concern is not listening to the people. If I'm elected, you can be sure that you can call me and I'll answer it, or you can come by the house, or you can holler at me and tell me you're not doing what I said I'd do. I hope that won't be the thing, but I'm always open to let people say what they want to say. I think that it's sad when you go door to door and you find so many people that are so upset and nobody seems to care, and then they say, well, we are listening. Well, I don't know who they're listening to, because they're not listening to the public. And it's sad. We're all neighbors. We're going to live together. It's okay to have a different opinion. This could have been settled by putting it on the ballot, and there's ways that you could put it on. And it's this nonsense to say, well, it's an opinion, because I did give them an opportunity to, it wasn't my idea, it was one of the commissioners, that we could put a tax on and get an idea of what the people thought. I don't agree with what is being said, but that's good enough. Thank you.
Ms. Gibson?
A vote for me will restore confidence in City Council by upholding the city charter and our ordinances without exception. I will manage our financial resources with a common sense approach so we can maintain efficiency. Public hearings, transparency, and representing the majority of the public is critical and will be my primary goal as councilperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
I know the 3 council people that are subject to this recall, and they're good folk. This isn't anything personal. I just think in the last council meetings and just following this, I think you can make the case that this council has been held captive by this issue by over 10 months. much to the lack of attention to some other things that I think were, to be honest, much more important. I don't think this current council can get out from underneath us in any meaningful way. I think in a lot of people's minds, and my knocking on doors, there's a pretty common perception that they might have crossed the line on what they should have included the people on this decision. So if I'm elected, I think we'll get by this fireplace one way or another. There are many more important things that we should be looking at, which I feel I have the experience, the open-mindedness, no single issue on my agenda. I'm here for the long haul. I'm here for the city. I would note one, respectfully, make mention, Jill said that this doesn't cost the city any money for one thing. I would disagree. Just for the record, I think just the city staff taking that box on and off was costing the city money. It was an error. It was a mistake. I think they meant well. They didn't know this was going to happen. I kind of heard them apologize at previous council meetings. But I don't think they can get by this in a meaningful way. There should be vision. There should be partnering going on right now. There should be relationship building. There should be talks about downtown. There should be talks about the school system going bankrupt. There should be talks about the property values tanking.
Thank you.
Those are more important issues.
Mr. Casino?
It seems every time we do something, usually in Charlevoix, there's a controversy. In fact, we're sitting right here in a building that was a controversy. I remember when this building was first proposed out here. Even when we built the new park, people didn't like the way things went. I'm not going to say that it's right or wrong what that fireplace is, but that's the whole problem right now is the fireplace. I don't like, people say we didn't listen. I'll tell you what, we had those 3 meetings. Nobody showed up to voice an opinion about it. We passed it. Then when we had the meeting, where people finally figured it out, we listened. We went out and had that fireplace redesigned. I heard, we're using gas, who's going to pay for it? Well, gas for the first 5 years is paid for by a donor, and from then on, it will be paid on by donors. It'll never cost the city any money. There's just too much not the truth out there. If I'm recalled, so be it. But at least I want to be recalled for the truth. I am in full support of the fireplace. I think it will be just as was in the paper yesterday. If they build it, they will come. I thank all of you for your support. I ask you for your vote. If you don't want to vote for me, at least vote, because that is one of the last privileges we have left in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman?
I think it's been an honor and a privilege to be able to serve on Charlevoix City Council. For the most part, it's been, there hasn't been much controversy except for this last and most heated issue. I've served 3.5 years, and I hope to be able to, at a minimum, finish out my term. People ask me if you aren't recalled, would you be crazy enough to run again? We'll decide when that time comes around. I feel bad that this situation, the current issue before us, has divided our community. And it's not just our community. I mean, people are talking about it in other communities, and they say to me, what's up with Charlevoix? Why does everybody always so anxious to start an argument or fight about an issue? I don't really know the reason behind that. As far as listening to the people, I have spoken to people, not only in my ward, but in other wards. And those I've spoken to, for the most part, I've had opposition to it and been confronted about it. But as of late, it seems that more and more people are starting to come around and embrace the idea of this and what it can do for our community and for our downtown. Maybe use it as a stepping stone to future things. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Speaker?
I'm a little tired of hearing about this not listening to the people. If we weren't listening to the people, you would have had a fireplace at Apple Fest. We have listened to them. We put a hold on that fireplace in September, and we've listened to them, and yet we answer, we go with it, we work with them on one thing, they come back with another, we work with them on that, they came back with another, we work with them on that. My major part on this is I have listened, and I'm going to try and be just as nice as I can, Kirby. I have listened to lies for 8.5 months. They've either been on paper, they've been on Facebook, or they've been said behind my back. I am starting to take that personally. This is a good working council. The auditors came in that have audited us for 30 years and said it's the best working council they've ever worked with. There is nothing wrong with our council or our mayor. This is absolutely the best working council that the city of Charlevoix has had in 30 years. We continued on with our daily work, what we had to do, including the fireplace. We still carried out our other chores, our other jobs that we had. So we were carrying a double load. Thank you to about 18 people that just won't let the fireplace go. And I'm sorry for that. And I'm sorry for the lies about me, including the recall. Every bit of it has been lies. And I find it disgusting. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Porter? Please hold applause for Dr. Porter.
I want to thank the Chamber for putting on this forum together, and I also want to thank Doug DeYoung for being the moderator. I'd like to thank the audience for coming out tonight, and I'd like to thank all the candidates who participated in our discussion. Following the rules is something that's instilled in us by our parents, teachers, coaches, and it's something that we try and instill in our children. As residents of the city of Charlevoix, we are guided by our own set of rules, the city charter, policies in the city code, and of course, state and federal law. The reason we are here tonight is that the rules were not followed. When elected, I intend to listen carefully to the residents in Charlevoix and see that we govern with thoughtfulness and, most importantly, transparency. As we close this stained chapter in Charlevoix's history, I pledge to go back and dust off the rule book and make Charlevoix the place where we all want to live.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you for coming this evening. Hopefully we had the ability to get through most of your questions. This is the largest pile of questions we've ever seen for any of our candidate forums that we've posted. I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time this evening and for the time that you put into the preparation of the questionnaires ahead of time. And on behalf of all of our community, even those of us that can't vote in the city limits, best of luck on Tuesday's election. For follow-up from today, the questionnaires that were referenced earlier, we've had available on the website for at least a week now. They're still on our website, so you can access them if you'd like to look further at that. We'll put a link on the Chamber Facebook page as well. The video of tonight's forum will also be on charlevoixcourier.com and charlevoix.org, which is the Chamber website as well. Thank you all for attending, and good luck.